always have a support structure that you can rely on, having people that can always deliver, and at the very least, those that can show progress on a daily basis.
Kita adalah brand holder. Kita kena yakin dengan brand kita. So sebelum kita nak meyakinkan orang dengan brand kita, kita kena yakinkan diri kita dahulu. So macam mana? Ilmu, knowledge. Pergi belajar. Tak belajar, tak tahu. Saya buka syarikat saya sendiri sebab masa itu saya yakin masyarakat tak boleh bergerak tanpa motivasi.
புதுசா வித்தியாசமா நீங்க யோசிச்சு ஒரு மார்க்கெட்ல டிமாண்டா இருக்கிற ப்ராடக்ட்டை நீங்க கொண்டு வந்தீங்கன்னா பயனியராகவும் ஆகலாம். அதே சமயத்துல மக்கள் திருப்பி வந்து உங்கள்கிட்ட வாங்கிட்டு இருப்பாங்க.
把你的生意放上网络平台，我朋友是做网络卖衣服的生意，他的生意是不断的在增长。我起步的时候是跟去银行贷款，所以他说我的规模也是太小，所以他是不接受我的贷款的。有一天我上网寻找贷款，然后过后就找到 IMSME， 过后我去 click 进去申请表格。第二天 CGC 的有一个顾问打来跟我说，你可以尝试用 P2P 的平台，过后就成功了。
The great thing about this whole CGC ISME program is that it's no collateral and you can go for as little as 1,000 ringgit to as much as 5 million. I went online and went to the page, registered, logged in, and just keyed in my details. And from there, within a matter of days, things were already set in motion. So it's really that straightforward and that simple. I was able to get it within a matter of weeks. I think everyone can too.
IMSME ஃபண்ட் வந்து நாங்கள் வந்து அப்ளை பண்ணியிருந்தோம், எங்களுக்கு கிடச்சிச்சு. அது மூலிமா எங்கள் பிஸ்னஸையும் வந்து எக்ஸ்பெண்ட் பண்ணோம். 10% வந்து இன்க்ரீஸ் பண்ணோம் எங்கள் சேல்ஸை. இது மூலிமா IMSME ஃபண்ட் வந்து ரொம்ப உதவியாக இருந்துச்சு எங்களுக்கு.
Sebenarnya dalam business, fund is everything. You have fund, you can go bigger. You don't have fund, you cannot go anywhere. CGC banyak membantu saya untuk saya go and move further sebenarnya. Dan at the end, saya dah ada branch baru dekat Alustah selepas saya dapat dana daripada CGC. I have no fund problem at all after that. Jadi dengan IMSME memang banyak sangat ubah hidup saya dan banyak membantu mengembangkan bisnes saya.
感谢 IMSME 帮我的生意更上一层楼。
to all of you, and welcome back to Star Media Group's Smart Retail Live Virtual Conference. And we hope you've had a good lunch break and enjoyed the opening session earlier this morning. Do let us know your thoughts about this morning's program. We'd love to hear from you. Please type into the chat box or in the comment section. And if you're tuning in for the first time, and whether you're on Zoom, Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn, thank you very much for joining us today. My name is Myra Baiti, and I'm your host for this two-day conference. Just a brief background. Sorry, guys. Just a brief background on the heart of this event. In conjunction with Star Media Group's 50th anniversary this year, and as a follow-up to the Digital X Data 2020 live virtual conference, the Smart Retail Conference is a part of the Digital X Data 2021 Road to Malaysia 5.0 program that is dedicated to enabling digitally powered Malaysian businesses to accelerate growth in the new Malaysia 5.0 digital economy powered by disruptive technologies. And to kick off the Road to Malaysia 5.0 event series, the Smart Retail event program, we will take you on a two-day journey to discover what is in store for retail as the nation moves beyond MCO 2.0. The program revolves around key subjects such as women in retail, customer experience, online fraud and cybercrime, digital operations, and e-commerce in digital marketing. To learn more about the event agenda and speaker profiles, you may scan the QR code that is located at the top right of your screen, or you can go to bit.ly/smartretailagenda. But most importantly, we hope you will learn more about digital transformation in the retail sector and how your business can transition from merely adapting and surviving to thriving and winning. All right, guys, we now would like to announce the prize draw winners of this morning's session. And yes, you heard that right. For those of you who have just joined us, all you need to do is stay tuned until the end of each session, and you will stand a chance to win these cool prizes. So let's see who are the lucky winners for the first session. We've got Skull Candy Jib Plus wireless earbuds, and the winner goes to Lo Jia Lin. For the Divu Macchiato Bluetooth speaker, the winner is Mandy Kaur. And for the Skull Candy Push Through wireless earbuds, the winner is Joyce Tan. Congratulations to all the winners. Our events crew will be contacting you separately at the end of the event at your registered email address or mobile number for the arrangement. Now, let's see what we have in store for you this afternoon. We will be covering customer experience during this session. Our terabyte partner, DAPAT Vista, will be enlightening us on the next frontier of serving the new digital consumers of Southeast Asia. It follows with an industry panel discussion that will be moderated by our knowledge partner, KPMG in Malaysia, and will be joined by our special guests from AirAsia, Love, Bonito Malaysia, and Ninja Van Malaysia. I hope you're excited with the program of this session, and we would like to hear from you. If you are, what you're looking forward to, what would you like to hear more of, please type in the chat box or in the comment section. And to learn more about the event agenda and the speaker profiles, again, you may scan the QR code that is located at the top right of your screen, or go to bit.ly/smartretailagenda. All right. So, introducing our next before we introduce our next guest, let's go through some housekeeping matters for those of you who have just joined us. Please be patient if you experience any technical glitches or internet glitches. We do strive to provide top quality production for all our events. However, some things are beyond our control. But if you need assistance from us, you may chat with our events crew, or you can also email us at events@thestar.com.my if you have any questions for our speakers. For Zoom viewers, you may post it up in chat box, and for the viewers on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn, you may post it in the comment section below. Lastly, and most importantly, please engage, learn, and enjoy. Now, in response to the pandemic, Asia Pacific has led the great digital transformation of private and public sectors globally. As Southeast Asia welcomes a new generation of digital consumers, how will technology creators meet the challenges of building for personas that have otherwise been left behind, both digitally and financially? Amanda Sabri, CEO of DAPAT Vista, leads a team of passionate Malaysians with a unique process of understanding what financially excluded personas need in order to transact online. Hint, it goes far beyond a fancy user interface. Ladies and gentlemen, Amanda will be coming up next, so please stay tuned and we will be back shortly.
Hello, Malaysia. I am Amanda Sabri, CEO of DAPAT, a Pertama digital portfolio company. Today, I am going to tell you how the future of our Malaysian society relies on the design decisions we make today. Big statement, right? Stay with me. I want you to begin by picturing this. You had a really long day at the office. You were super productive, had a few wins and a few losses too. You're now in your car on the highway, taking a relaxing drive home to have dinner with the family. Except it's not so relaxing. Traffic is absolutely manic. Cars are blocking up yellow boxes and cutting across double lines. You wins, but it's manageable. After all, this is just part and parcel of traveling during rush hour. Then you come to a toll booth. You have a tag, so you're looking forward to a smooth clearance. It's the cashless, savvy choice that you're proud of. You are not like other road users. You are going to be ahead. But no, there's a long queue on the rightmost lane. A blue car is stuck at the barrier. The dot matrix display screams, "Tiada tag." First, the blue car goes into a series of back and forth maneuvers in hopes of getting detected. Finally, the poor driver gives up. The blue car goes into reverse, starting a chain reaction with all 9 cars behind it having to back up too. Now the blue car cuts 3 lanes to the left to make a cash payment, slicing 3 lanes of oncoming traffic, like a disaster waiting to happen. Meanwhile, the 9 cars, they get cleared one by one until car number 7. This time, a red car. The dot matrix display screams, "Baki kurang." Once again, the snake of cars go into reverse in some weird, coordinated backwards party train dance. This time, you blow your top. The frustration level is high. Why can't these drivers mount their tags properly? Why can't they check their balance before driving off? Why are you being penalized for their mistakes? And why has it been like this for 20 years? Why? Now, all this while you're sitting in a state-of-the-art car with radar cruise control, a heads-up display, an intelligent navigation that understands your voice commands and tells you when there is debris on the road. The air conditioning is just perfect and your car has been very reliable, not like that car you own in the year 1999. When your spouse calls you, you answer the call hands-free and he hears your voice crystal clear, thanks to noise-cancelling microphones in the car. What a contrast, right? This isn't unique to cars and toll booths. It's happening all around us. Now, our Asia-Pacific region has led the world in both private and public digitalization since the start of the pandemic. We have accelerated digital adoption by more than 10 years over just the first 7 months of 2020. We have a plethora of cutting-edge apps right in our hands that are magically updated and improved while we sleep, making them an absolute pleasure to use and depend on in our new digitally enabled lives. In Southeast Asia, we have seen 40 million new users come online in just 1 year, compared to an average of 25 million over the preceding 4 years. 70% of our region is now online. 1 in 3 digital service users are new thanks to the pandemic, and 9 in 10 of them are sticking to digital for life. By 2025, every Malaysian, even a day-old infant, will have a smartphone, and that infant will likely have a 4G mobile broadband connection with a 97% penetration rate. Now that includes our rural communities, which made up 59% of new digital consumers in Malaysia over the course of COVID-19. Yes, I know, those are a lot of numbers, but it all comes down to this one fact. Malaysia has landed squarely in the digital age today. Okay, so we're all digital now, right? Let's go on our way, becoming Bitcoin millionaires while we have Zoom socials and get ice cream delivered, right? Why not let's spend 10 million on an NFT while we're at it? Are we going to live happily ever after? Well, not all of us. The truth is, this great digital acceleration has been a boom for some of us, while others are left behind. Our penetration rates are high, 32 million smartphones, 96% have mobile internet, 92% of adults with an active deposit account, while half of the poorest 40% amongst us, the B40s, receive their wages in cash. In fact, 3.7 million adults in the private sector still receive their wages in cash. Now, this reliance on cash then permeates the payment space. 4 out of 5 Malaysian utility bill payers still do so in cash. Let's put this into some context. Go to any pasar malam, not just in rural areas, but also right here in Klang Valley. But leave your wallet at home. No cash, no cards. Just take your smartphone with an e-wallet account. How many items can you actually buy? From our research, very little, and for a variety of reasons. Some as simple as the fact that some stallholders believe that they have to print out QR codes to receive payments, when in fact, they can display it on their smartphone screens. Now, this experience demonstrates a couple of loopholes in our digital journey as a nation. First and foremost, Malaysians are amongst the most active social media users in the world. We are ahead of South Korea in time spent on Facebook, YouTube, and e-commerce. Clearly, as a people, we know how to produce and consume digital content. We are using our broadband-connected smartphones for entertainment, socializing, and perhaps retail therapy. Now, these trends are true across the board at every socio-economic segment in Malaysia. Second, for some of our fellow men, the value proposition for making the leap into digital financial services is not hitting the spot right now. And so the default means of transaction is a lot more comfortable, which is cash. So it is entirely possible for an individual to have hundreds of likes on Instagram, but rarely make e-payments, living an almost entirely cash-based life. Now, the last loophole I'd like to highlight is what seems to be an opportunity missed by the B40s, to leverage digital tools effectively to achieve socio-economic mobility, which we, within the Pertama Digital Group, have coined as digital productivity. All this while you and I, the M40s and T20s, ride this wave of digital acceleration to live our best lives with heightened productivity and the luxury of working remotely. What does all this mean for us as a society? We are going to have to mind the gap, the socio-economic gap, the one that grows when there's income inequality, as the rich get richer and the rest get left behind. This gap has a negative impact on many facets of our societal fabric, from health to housing. The pandemic has amplified some of these problems, not just in Malaysia, but across the globe. There are entire industries on the back foot with no recovery in sight. All of a sudden, so many of us are going to have to make ends meet in a new normal with weakened job security and a need to fend for ourselves and our families. This has led to a self-employment explosion in Malaysia. In 2018, there were 2.9 million self-employed Malaysians, making up about 20% of the workforce. According to data from the Statistics Department during our recent MCOs, nearly 50% of self-employed Malaysians lost their jobs, while 90% are getting by on a reduced income. And after a year of wearing masks and physical distancing, the self-employed have depleted their savings, accumulated debt, and are now dealing with overall lower consumer spending. Winter is coming. What will these challenges mean for our society? How long will it take for us to shrug off the stains of COVID-19 over the 2020s? What can we do to not only brace ourselves, but also extend enabling initiatives to those who need it most? To start solving these problems, we first need to understand exactly who is experiencing the highest magnitude of pain from being financially excluded. Financial exclusion refers to individuals, businesses, and populations without access to common financial services. Now, these may include savings accounts, formal loans, cashless transactions, credit, and other banking services that you and I take for granted. Bank Negara Malaysia, in its widely praised licensing framework for digital banks published in December 2020, has highlighted that our financially excluded Malaysians may face challenges obtaining financial services due to higher information asymmetry and a higher risk profile. This in turn may be due to a lack of credit history, loan collateral, or just a consistent form of income. Our self-employed friends fall squarely in this category. You see, banks want to help them. In fact, they are in the business of lending money for a variety of purposes in order to make a profit. However, banks also owe a duty to depositors as well as the wider economy to manage risks responsibly and ensure the long-term stability of their operations. Now, in order to be financially viable while managing risks, banks apply a framework of checks and requirements to assess how a potential customer would fit into their overall risk-reward appetite. Now, these frameworks typically translate into formal processes, advanced terminology, and a wide range of financial products and services which can be difficult to navigate. Now, and this is completely responsible and required of the banks. They are heavily regulated and have years of experience as providers of financial services in good times and in bad, having to forecast cycles of volatility and consider a wide range of possible events that could trigger a banking disaster. In short, it's not personal. On the other hand, those of us who would benefit most from financial services in times of need may be time and resource poor, with a low level of financial literacy and limited understanding of formal processes. Even when we do qualify for financial products from banks, how many of us actually understand how they work, our liabilities, and the long-term implications on our households? This isn't the only information gap. How many of us know exactly how banks make decisions about us? How do we build a credit profile? What kind of activity banks need to see on our accounts in order to serve us? We are all affected by this in some way, but the self-employed are disproportionately represented. This group includes your friendly food delivery guy, local Instagram cookie seller, and the guy who comes around to your house to cut grass, a gig economy worker, MSME, and cash service providers. So the big question is, seeing that 92% of Malaysian adults have an active deposit bank account, why do the financially underserved exist among us? Why are they not fitting the mold that banks have set? Why is e-wallet usage growing exponentially while leaving gaps on the ground? What's the missing piece? Is there something we don't know but ought to? The answer is yes. There is a huge missing piece that we see across the board in not just Malaysia, but in other countries too, with such a diverse landscape of people. It is something that I feel extremely passionate about, and I believe will be a key piece in how we recover from this pandemic as a nation. The answer is described in just 2 words: customer experience. Customer experience. More specifically, the answer lies in service providers of all shapes and sizes, from tech startups to conglomerates and incumbent banks, focusing on designing great customer experiences for Malaysians of all walks of life. Customer experience design is simply a commitment to building products with a laser focus on the customer. Let's start with the understanding between us that everything is designed. The screen you're watching me on has been designed. Your experience when you walk into Starbucks, from the temperature of the cafe to how your name is scribbled on the cup, has been designed. This is an example I like to use to illustrate customer experience. Now think of your last cereal breakfast. The products were cereal and milk. The interfaces were the spoon and the bowl. And the experience was your enjoyment of the meal, the combination of cereal and cold milk in a bowl of just the right size and a spoon that balances well in between your fingers. An experience is an orchestra of elements that come together. Teams of highly skilled people have spent months and years creating exactly what keeps you going back to your favorite brands for more. Now in 2018, PwC reported that 32% of bad experiences resulted in users not coming back to a brand or product. A single bad experience could cause a customer to abandon a service completely. So this is high stakes. So let's make everything pretty. Hold on. Let's take a moment to understand this. What's so cool about making something pretty? What impact could it make? I'm here to tell you that customer experience can change the world as we know it. The design of a customer experience has the power to influence people. It is about psychology, research, and taking a complex problem and breaking it down into smaller, more digestible pieces. In fact, customer experience is an ancient art and can be traced back to ancient China. Feng Shui is the positioning of an environment to bring positivity. It is about designing experiences for the people that would occupy a physical space. More recently, our friends in Silicon Valley have been spending billions of dollars tailoring our individual and collective experiences in digital environments. It's no coincidence that as a country, we love social media, enough to spend an average of 5 hours and 47 minutes a day on it. That's like watching 2 Lord of the Rings movies back to back every single day. Our experiences as users of YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp have been designed to the last pixel to keep us coming back for more. Unfortunately, there is a dark side to this, which is now coming to light after a decade of smartphone ownership. This arises from the fact that these have been making design decisions based on driving engagement metrics, whether or not they are in the interest of us, the customers. You are the product. Their value is your attention. Your 5 hours and 47 minutes drives their bottom line. It's okay. Most of us are perfectly comfortable engaging these free services because we derive value from them. We want to keep in touch with loved ones and be entertained. We want to work better and be informed. But how much is too much? We are now beginning to see the disastrous effects of misaligned customer experience design. Get this. Out of 790,000 American divorces, 33% of them blame Facebook. Yes, customer experience design really has the power to ruin marriages. Great customer experience is addictive and it ignites a primal emotional reaction, fear of missing out. What this demonstrates is a lack of broader thinking on the part of customer experience designers, linked to short-term KPIs that aren't quite equitable. It is time to make a change and think, What's in the best interest of the customer and a society? It's time to design for Malaysians, especially those who are left behind. As creators of solutions, we must design for their needs, their dreams, their wishes, and their purpose. Our product should be a part of what they want to help them fulfill their purpose and live better lives, to reach their full potential. We need to create experiences that don't smother you with ads, promos, games, points, coins, but instead, wait for you, ready exactly for when you need it. At DAPAT and Pertama Digital, we design products that are usable, inclusive, equitable, enjoyable, and useful. Let's break that down. To begin, customer experience is about improving usability or making something easier to use. This means that the design structure and purpose of the product must be clear to everyone. Think about a chili sauce bottle. Historically, chili sauce comes in a glass bottle. We had to hit the bottom of the glass to make the sauce come out. Often, no sauce or too much sauce would come out of the bottle. Today, the sauce bottle has been redesigned into a plastic squeezable bottle, which makes it easier to use and allows us to control how much sauce actually comes out. Customer experience designers need to think about every person who uses the product, including those who speak other languages, those with disabilities, and people with very different life experiences from your own, like the financially underserved. Considering the unique needs of many different people is important work, and thinking about equitable design is key. Being inclusive and equitable means your designs are useful and marketable to people with diverse abilities and backgrounds. Customer experience is also about making things enjoyable to use, which creates a positive connection between user and the product. Customer experience designers foster that positive connection by taking a user's thoughts and feelings into account when making products. Think about ordering food delivery online. When you search for a restaurant in Google or Foodpanda, you can see photos of dishes and reviews from other people who have eaten there. The experience is enjoyable because you can make a more informed choice about what to order, leaving you feeling happier about the product. So how do we figure out what makes a customer happy with the product? That's where research comes in. To know how users feel, we have to collect evidence on how they are experiencing that product in real time and ask them about it if we have to. As humans, we want products that are useful, meaning they must solve our problems. For example, if you're lost, a map app telling you how to get home is very useful. But if the app can't find your current location, it doesn't become so useful anymore. Studies show that regardless of industry, businesses that focus on good usability and design perform better than their competitors. Basically, it comes down to this. When people like a product, they use that product a lot and they recommend it to their friends, and more people using the product means better business. Let's think of some local products in this context. When is the last time you recommended a business, app, or service to a friend based purely on your positive personal experience with it? These days, we are used to promoting services based on promo codes and incentives. Here's a top tip. Truly great products and services do not require incentives to grow organically. Think about it. Did you ever receive a promo code from WhatsApp or Waze? Now, I'd like to highlight a key strength that great customer experience designers have: empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand someone else's feelings or thoughts in a situation. And it's a major part of customer experience. Remember earlier when we mentioned inclusive, equitable design and designing for everyone? Well, in order to design for everyone, we need to understand how a person might feel or what they might think in any situation. In markets like Malaysia, great customer experience is inclusive. Imagine designing software that will be used by Malaysians of all walks of life. Where would you start? Somehow, you have to strike a balance between designing for everyone and for not really anyone. Designing an effective customer experience starts first with a deep understanding of the people involved in the usage of the product. This can't be done from behind an office desk. You have to get out into the real world and live where your customers are for as long as it takes for you to see things from their perspective. For example, if you're designing a solution for an MSME, go and spend time working in a few of them. Witness how difficult it is to manage. What happens when it rains and a QR code is not laminated? While you're there, conduct stakeholder interviews, create user personas, and write detailed stories about the potential use cases of your solution. Now, don't be surprised when you come back to the office with a completely different concept of your product. Next, share your findings with your team. Together, brainstorm ideas, sketch wireframes, and understand engineering constraints, if any. Take those sketches back to the ground, go back to your potential customers, and show them your ideas. Involve them in the creation of their solution. Speak their language, gain their trust. You're not just another tech capitalist looking to be the next big thing. You then create the minimum viable product and test it with a small group of customers. Stay close to them, record comments, hurdles, frustrations, bring these back to the team and make small changes at a time. Now, by going through this process for each and every product and feature your business creates, you will be on the right track to creating customer experiences that deliver real value to those who need it most. DAPAT did that just with eJamin, our digital bail payment solution. Bail is a deposit for the courts as security to ensure the accused attends criminals' court proceedings. Failure to pay lands the accused in lockup or prison pending case conclusion. Now, on the face of it, it looks like a really simple solution. However, in the background, there has now been years of efforts put into this simple solution as we work closely with the innovative team at the Malaysian judiciary and the dedicated civil servants that power the hundreds of courts of law across the country, ensuring we have an efficient judicial system at all times. Now, traditionally, bailers had to brave the traffic from the court to the bank and wait through queues to open a bank account. Then, they have to rush back to the court to place the bail. All this under the pressure of time, because if bail is not paid by the late afternoon on the same day, the accused would have to spend time in the lockup or prison. Our process saw us diving deep into the personas of every stakeholder involved, from both sides of the bench. It was only then that we managed to design a customer experience for bailers, court officers, magistrates, and senior stakeholders that benefited from strong organic adoption and the trust and belief of accused individuals and their families. As you can imagine, anybody who finds himself in the position of having to pay bail for a loved one is under absolute pressure. It is a high-stakes environment, and any solution has to work absolutely perfectly. Otherwise, there is a real risk of insurmountable disappointment from the customer. So eJamin had to be quick and easy to use by a wide subsection of Malaysians for a crucial purpose in a time-sensitive environment, while having to build absolute trust in bailers that the system will indeed work and not let them down. It was really a tall order, but we succeeded. As a digital bail payment solution, eJamin enabled the rakyat to complete the bail payment process in 15 minutes, down from the previous 3 hours or more, all done on the spot via a smartphone or web browser. eJamin was also timely because the expedited and touchless bail payment customer experience helped avoid long queues at the courts and the banks. Now, both DAPAT and the Malaysian judiciary committed to building a solution that benefits the rakyat first and foremost in their moment of difficulty. Now, this spirit permeated across the board, with court officers voluntarily attending online seminars about financial literacy and customer experience in order to better serve the rakyat. Some of these seminars in rural courts have resulted in a 10 times growth in digital bail payments within the month. Now, how's that for financial inclusion, right? So if we, the innovators of Malaysia, spent a bit more time building usable, inclusive, equitable, enjoyable, and useful products for our fellow citizens, what would the future look like? My prediction is that we will pull out of this pandemic stronger together, with products and solutions that have the potential to change lives. Customer experience will be a key component of the facilitation of socio-economic mobility over a generation. The patriots at DAPAT and Pertama Digital are building equitable, impactful solutions for the rakyat so we can do our part to support our Malaysia digital economy blueprint. I invite you to get in touch with my team at dapat.com to brainstorm ideas around customer experience and how we can work together. We will do our part to make customer experience design thinking go mainstream so that one day queues at toll booths will be a thing of the past. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amanda. That was indeed a very compelling presentation on why we should move more towards incentive-based systems for users in design. I mean, I really love the fact that she brought up ads, because if I had a cent for every single ad that I've gotten from applications, I would still be poorer than Mark Zuckerberg. Anyway, next thing is the impact of COVID. We're moving on to the next panel session, which is a power panel session. And in this world of COVID-19 on customer behavior, the impact of COVID-19 was sorry guys. The impact of COVID-19 on customer behavior was immediate and widespread across all of these industries. Consumer behaviors have fundamentally changed over the past 1 year across all countries and demographics. In this panel discussion, we will learn how the state of business in 2021 is affected in terms of customers' expectations, behaviors, and also how technology plays a key role in transforming the overall customer experience. So our first guest is dialing in from Australia, Mr. Adam Genevieve, Chief Customer Happiness Officer of AirAsia, has a wealth of experience in travel and the tourism industry. Having worked in a number of high-profile customer experience and airline production roles in Asia as well as Asia Pacific, Adam has been instrumental in managing to maintain high customer satisfaction throughout the COVID-19 pandemic, with new technologies, processes, and systems put in place to handle the significant surge in customer queries over the past year. Our next guest is Joan Yeo, Country Director for Love, Bonito, Malaysia. In her role, Joan has been delivering high triple-digit percentage revenue growth for the past 3 consecutive years. In her experience, she has managed over 30 brands in advertising and digital with a combined ADEX revenue spend of $50 million. She was also the country brand and marketing manager for Nike Malaysia, responsible for overseeing a $15 million spend per annum. Our third guest is the Chief Operating Officer of Ninja Van Malaysia. In Ninja Van, Ling Zeng supervises the organization's ongoing operations and procedures. Prior to joining Ninja Van, Ling Zeng was in the management, consulting, and telecommunications industry. And lastly, our panel moderator who heads KPMG's technology consulting practice in Malaysia, Mr. Alvin Gan, has over 24 years of experience providing strategy and technology consulting services. He works with businesses to help them design and deliver relevant customer experiences that drive engagement and result in sustainable customer relationships. This is definitely going to be a great panel session and it's not going to be missed. So the panel is now getting ready. All of you at home, please stay tuned. We'll be back shortly.
Thank you, Myra. Once again, a warm welcome to Adam, Joan, and Lindsay. Digital transformation has been a key agenda for many organizations for the last couple of years. When we as society were hit by COVID-19, many turned to technology as it offered opportunities to rebuild business around the customer to create a truly connected and highly profitable enterprise. New combinations of talent and technology are delivering decisive advances in customer experience, operational efficiency, and competitive edge. Digital transformation has the power to drive positive outcomes, whether it's streamlining processes, harnessing data, or shaping entirely new ways of doing business. This is what we term as connected enterprise. To kick things off, if we could look back at 2020, wanted to understand from your organization's experience when the pandemic hit. Perhaps we can start with Adam, who has a very unique title being called the Chief Customer Happiness Officer. If you could please share with us your very interesting title and what it entails before you share with us your industry perspective. Adam, if we could hear from you, thank you.
Sure. Hi. Thanks, Alvin, for the intro. Good afternoon, everyone. Great to be here with you today. Look, it is an interesting title, Alvin. It's a great, it's a great icebreaker for conferences and events like this. So, you know what I love? It puts the focus back on people. I think in customer experience, we often focus on systems and processes and things like that. But what I love about my title, it puts everything back focused on people, because at the end of the day, when we're talking about customer experience and our customers in general, we just want them to be happy, right? So I love my title, and it really keeps my team focused every day on keeping all our AirAsia customers happy.
That's great. I'm sure it's a very, very heavy responsibility, because I think, right, when I was growing up, I was always told that, your responsibility for your happiness, right? And you've got the entire world or the entire customer of AirAsia on your shoulders, yeah? So maybe, you could sort of dive into the industry perspective, right? What you saw this time last year. I think from a KPMG perspective, we saw different quadrants, different industries sort of being impacted by COVID-19, right? I guess one of the hardest hit would be on the airline sector, yeah? So maybe from your perspective, from a customer segment perspective, how did AirAsia sort of look at it? How do you sort of drive that new segment, or how do you drive that customer experience perspective? Adam, if you could share, please.
Yeah, it's a great responsibility, but it's also a great challenge. And I think we've seen an enormous challenge over the last sort of 12 to 13 months now, as you mentioned. And look at AirAsia, pre-COVID, our customer experience teams used to talk to about 50,000 customers a day, for example. And, during the COVID peak, we were speaking to over 500,000 customers a day as flights got cancelled and borders closed, and people needed to, change flights or access refunds and credits, etc., with us as well. And, that had a huge difference for us. In 2019, for example, we spoke to 20 million people. In 2020, we spoke to over 50 million people. So we really quickly had to pivot the way that we were talking to our customers. And we did that through, increased automation and increased speed of response to our customers. And no doubt we'll get more into that later. But, one of the great things that we did during that pandemic peak is we reskilled our cabin crew and our pilots, for example. So people who, used to fly on the planes and who were grounded due to the pandemic, we were able to reskill close to 1,800 of those to be volunteers in our contact centre. So people who used to fly the planes were sitting behind chats and talking to our customers and assisting them to move flights or get access to credits and refunds, etc., or able to answer their questions. And I think the ability to do that was due to the great tech stack that we have at AirAsia. We use fantastic systems, and we were able to be there to customers. So I think, that was sort of an instant quick pivot that we had to do. Mm-hmm. But we also had to look broader at, how we were going to acquire new customers and, how we could diversify our business quickly, because it was obvious that the pandemic was not a short-term thing. It was obviously going to go for many months, as we've now seen. So, we've rolled out lots of new products at AirAsia, unlimited passes, for example, that have been incredibly popular with our customers. We've gone through a bit of a rebrand and a digital transformation with our AirAsia Super app, and I'm super excited to share some information about that with you throughout our talk today. And already that's already got over 15 different digital and lifestyle products, and is beginning to drive substantial revenue in our business. So it was about the instant response for us, but it was also about how to take advantage of the situation and really look at how we could begin to diversify and change our business. And we did that very quickly through the diversification you're now seeing.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Adam. I think, with whatever is happening, I think it's how fast we react to the situation. I think Asia did a great job in sort of looking at reskilling some of the people. Maybe to Joan, maybe from your experience, this time last year, what sort of process did Love Bonito go through in terms of, again here, seeing what's happening from your experience from last year? Maybe you could share with us as well.
First, right, within weeks of going into marketplace expansion, of going into, launching their own e-commerce brand, we had the upper hand in that sense, right? But even then, I think, we were fulfilling our orders cross-border, and Ninja Van is actually one of our delivery partners cross-border, right? And the first thing that we actually checked even, right, was to call up, our operations team, ensure that, cross-border fulfillment was still okay, because there were a lot of, obviously, red tape around cross-border inbound, outbound. Exactly. And then, for us, the other thing that we really focused on was safety. And, primarily, I think what we had to do was we had to really put ourselves in the customer's position, right? It was an erratic time. It was an unpredictable kind of a trend, right? None of us knew exactly what was happening, but because I think we had really like the right, kind of team to really go through everything, right? And, maintain that sort of calm, right? So we had a strong, high-performing teamwork that really developed, exhaustive SOPs and the key next steps for us to really execute. So at that time, we were pretty okay at, really managing the entire crisis. The next was really assessing on our business opportunities and risks, because obviously, we had to know what the new normal was. And the new normal was really something that, it was ever evolving and ever developing. So to a certain extent, I think, we were looking at SARS even, right? How, SARS actually developed in the markets that, had SARS, and how the trajectory of recovery happened in those markets, right? And what we would expect from that kind of trend. And so we were trying to deliver against, fundamentally something similar to that extent. And therefore, I think we did sort of, assessed it in the right framework in terms of looking at, trend watching, right? And for us, one of the key things that was an opportunity for us was work from home. Last year, same period, right, before COVID hit, actually, we were, I think, about 55% workwear contribution. So, so obviously, we serve the everyday modern women, and, half or more of our revenue contribution comes from workwear. And ever since, COVID started, right, everyone had to suddenly veer towards work from home, remote tools and systems, right? But they still had to work from home. And, everyone had to look, at least presentable on their video calls, on their Zoom. And so we kind of reassessed towards that need, right? Understanding our consumers, our customers' needs, right? Our women's needs, right? That they needed to look professional, but yet comfortable. So a lot of our focus actually in the months that led up to, even right now, was to develop then, very work from home friendly attire that delivered that sort of professionalism, yet casual comfort.
Yeah, thanks, Joan. I think you brought up some couple of good points, right? In terms of like workforce and all that. I think all of us sort of went through that phase where, I guess not everybody was working from home. So I guess you guys maybe got the right formula in terms of motivating some of these people. right? In that sense, yeah. So I think maybe we can also hear from Lin Zeng, yeah, in terms of your take on, what happened last year. I presume, like I said, from the industry perspective, we saw e-commerce, logistics as one of the so-called organizations that sort of fared a little bit better during the pandemic. From your perspective, how was business? How do you sort of manage during this time last year?
Okay, so for us, right, it's really a mixture of ups and downs. But like initially, right, we were one of the fortunate industries that were considered essential services, so we could
Yeah.
operate. But at the same time, it was uncertain how we were to operate and how there were many restrictions that were coming in place. I think given the emergency of the situation, things were communicated, but then there are a lot of details that we had to work out. But I think one of the main thing that really we had to do was to ensure the safety of our couriers and our workers,
Yeah,
because
exactly.
we don't want them to be carriers of diseases to spread across the country. So if you remember last year around this time, masks and sanitizer were really short in supply. There was once we even had to import masks from Singapore into Malaysia, and then the supply could only last us like 2 to 3 days. So we really back then, given that we had to operate, and then with so many couriers that we have to find many ways to able to meet the SOP, and as well as to adhere to SOP, getting the right supplies and so on. Then after we start to get the hang of the SOP, being able to operate, what we initially see was that there was actually deep in the market. People were not selling as much. I guess people were not so certain of how to operate, whether they could still sell, because we still have a lot of like marketplace sellers. They fulfill from their homes and so on. But after a while, maybe after like 2 weeks, we see actually demand actually surge dramatically. So we at the start we were thinking of, okay, how do we optimize our costs to make sure that we don't. So if we lower demand, how we optimize the cost to a point where we had to really scale up to 2 times at our lowest point to how much we can deliver to serve the market at the same time. So then there were also many constraints that we had to deal with. So first is the shorter operating hours. I think we only can deliver until 6 p.m., 7 p.m. So that really restricts a bit of our delivery window. So we had to hire a lot more couriers than expected. Then one thing is that like back then, like petrol stations were all closed past 8 p.m. So we had long haul trucks that travel to like Terengganu, Kelantan. Halfway they have no fuel. They have to wait for 8 p.m. before they reopen. Then we also face constraints where traditionally we use actually AirAsia for part of our delivery to East Malaysia. So as the freighters as all these passenger flights with a lot of belly space actually came to a halt, we actually had to look for alternatives to service East Malaysia. And I think if we notice what happens on the ground is that a lot of East Malaysia shipments had to rediverted to the hubs in KK, Kuching, and run line haul throughout. So the SLA for these areas were really impacted by the disruption in the supply of air freight capacity to East Malaysia. So I think for us, really, it's a time for us that we had to adapt to the new SOP and to serve the growing market.
Exactly. I think here all three panelists have sort of shared, from an industry perspective, the different ways the organization sort of adapted to it. I think I want to take you to what Joan mentioned just now in terms of the product, in terms of the demand from the customer. Lin Zeng, maybe you can share as well, do you see the change in the product demand from customers in terms of what, they are asking for and things like that from your delivery service logistics perspective?
So I think what we see from we look at our warehouse, right? What are the type of products that go through our warehouse? What we see is that predominantly previously it was more smaller items that are maybe more considered non-essential, less bulky items. But during the period of time where MCO hit, actually a lot of people will start at home, they work from home, right? Then they realize, oh, actually I need a new table, I need a new chair for my work from home, I need a monitor and so on. So we see people are actually trending to buy more products that traditionally they will go to a shop and buy to the shop deliver. Now they are taking a chance to buy online, and we see that shift actually is sustained even now. We see it trends up a bit, so people are more acceptable to buy these style items online compared to before MCO.
I see. Yeah. So I think we're seeing a shift in the customer demands. Maybe we will touch on the customer experience portion, right? I think today we see a lot of tech being used and also something called personalization, right? Do we understand Adam as a customer and things like that? Maybe Adam, from your perspective, what have you seen as a change? Being a chief customer happiness officer, sort of post pandemic to what we are now. What are sort of the trends you're seeing in terms of how do we deliver a good customer experience from your point of view?
Yeah, I think that's a good question, Alvin, because I think things have actually changed quite significantly. So look, even pre-COVID, we were obviously always a very guest-obsessed business. We were very focused on our customers. We'd been through a digital transformation already. But I think what we've seen, post-COVID is a few things. So, number one, customers are really expecting fast responses from us now. So people aren't willing to, sit there and wait, 45 minutes in a call center queue or things like that anymore. They really want instant responses. So we focused very much on introducing new channels for our customers to talk to us, for example. And what we learned from our customers quickly is they also wanted to talk to us the same way they could talk to their friend or their work colleagues. So, we've introduced channels like WhatsApp for customers to interact with us, for example, through our AI chatbot, Ava. And that's really been able to give customers a much faster, better way of interacting with us. And we've also had to focus heavily, I think, on increasing automation. So I spoke before about the volumes that we saw, coming through our contact environments during the COVID pandemic. And those volumes have fluctuated every day of the week for the last 12 months to peaks of, 500,000 people a day to, lows of 20,000 people a day. And it's very difficult to predict when that will happen because it's based on border closures and MCO extensions and things like that that's driving that to us. So we've really focused on increasing our automation to give customers the ability to self-serve, primarily through Ava, our chatbot, but through other channels as well. And to be able to do things instantly, like get instant credit accounts with us, to instantly apply for refunds, to be able to self-serve to move flights and purchase other products, etc. And we've seen that by increasing that automation and increasing the amount of channels we offer for our customers to talk to us, that we're seeing, much better customer satisfaction statistics, etc., coming through as well. And look, I think at the end of the day as well, customers want this fast interaction, but you also have to focus on quality. It's really easy when you're automating to lose quality. It's really easy when you're using 1,200 volunteer staff, for example, to lose the quality of what you're doing. But the quality is now more important than ever. Customers have super high expectations and they want to talk to you quickly and get something done fast. And to do that, you've really got to drive not just the automation and the technology, but you've got to make sure you've got the people sitting behind the scenes to support that and continue to have really great interactions with our guests every day.
All right. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I think I just want to take cue from what you mentioned. Actually, from a KPMG perspective, we did a survey last year with a couple of CXOs in the world. And the top three things that the CXOs are focusing on today is really on cybersecurity, customer experience, and efficiency. So I think you brought up a good point there that people are starting to use technology as a way forward to either improve quality or ensuring deliveries on time and so forth. Yeah. So maybe on the topic of technology, Linzeng, what has Ninja Van done, in terms of adopting technology in driving the customer experience part of it?
I think in terms of customer experience on technology front, it's a bit similar to what Adam has mentioned. So for us, right, one of the restrictions we had before was also on our call center, right? There's social distancing restriction and so on. So and back then we were only trialing our live chat options. So right now, with the long of pandemic, we actually push our customers to more live chat option because, as Adam also mentioned, right, people don't want to call in and wait for instant response. At the same time, if they send an email, they don't know when you will reply to email. So our live chat option, actually, when we started, it was only about 5 to 10% of our contact point. Up to right now, we have reached around 1/3 of all our contacts go through live chat, and customers are generally also happier compared to other touch points because they get a response sooner. At the same time, on our tracking page also, we do link all our systems to our website so they can track in real time what's happening to the parcel, where it's moved, where the movements and so on. So with this, there's more self-help option. There's more options for them to find out about their shipments rather than contacting us.
So I think there's a clear sign there that technology plays a big role, right, in ensuring the customer happiness as well as interaction, right? Understanding where their parcels are and so forth, and how do we actually get instant replies are ways that we are seeing technology play a big role. From a Love Benito perspective, Joan, so how has technology sort of better engaged in terms of your customer? As I understand, October last year, you guys opened your fourth shop in the physical shop in Singapore. So how is that playing and panning out between having physical shops as well as, how technology has sort of drive your business in that sense?
I think it's very interesting, right? So, for us, I think very simply, customer experience, a great one, right? It's defined as really being able to anticipate and deliver our customer needs and wants. And traditionally, I think pre-COVID, we were looking at, like, from a retail perspective, right? You're able to excite and engage with customers through 5 senses, right? Your sight, your hearing, your touch, your taste, your smell, right? And, post-COVID, you're unable to do all that, right? Everything touchless, everything contactless, everything with social distancing, everything that is to do with sanitization, everything to do with disinfection needs to be, obviously prioritized versus, a traditional pre-COVID customer experience. But of course, we reassess, obviously, what the new normal is at this point. And I guess, also assess what is a temporary type of, I think it's quite, apparent to say that, I don't think retail will go away, but redefining the retail customer experience would be something very important to us, right? How do we then, maintain a very careful, safe, secure SOP that, enables trust with our customers and also enables a great customer experience, right, as we serve them. So, whilst we believe that, obviously e-commerce is the way to go and we're truly omni-channel in that sense, right? We also look at, services like endless aisle, right? Like headless e-commerce platforms, like, looking at click and collect services, which, we're already rolled out in Singapore. Things like that obviously will help with the omni-channel experience. But truly, I think, when we go back to obviously a time where we can be a little bit more normal after vaccinations are done, everything will sort of pan out to, the customer wanting that sort of face-to-face interaction still, right? Wanting sort of to go out to engage their 5 senses, right? And that's when, I think the retail experience would be paramount. And of course, we focus on the other e-commerce part as well. I think, we've looked at AI, right? We've looked at AR, right? We'll look at things like click and collect and even endless aisle, right? Where you can deliver, basically, like a whole set of, inventory assortment options, right? To deliver straight to your home. Over the course of last year, we've been assessing that, reviewing that, and of course, planning for that. We've also had to really implement things that, really became an on-ground customer need. So something that we were testing and trialing on was really a store-to-door service. So there were some customers, mainly in Malaysia, who really didn't feel like shopping online, but were so used to regularly shopping in stores that they wanted us to pick stuff from the stores and deliver to them. So it became a pickup service, store-to-door kind of service, right? And that sort of retained a lot of our loyal offline retail customers. But then, obviously we pivoted some of our retail customers to shop online as well. So that really helped, I think, to really look at both perspectives and see what the different channels really play a role in terms of delivering that sort of customer experience.
Okay, thanks, Joan. I just want to touch on, again, here we did a survey last year, right? And one of the questions being asked is what attracts a good service, and the key thing was really around value, right? Ensuring that value is there when we deliver our service. Maybe Adam, I think you touched on ensuring quality and value. How does AirAsia sort of look at that, ensuring that that the quality and the value is there in that place? And how do we drive that message across the organization in that bit? Adam?
Well, look, I think AirAsia has always been a value-driven brand. We've, democratized air travel in the region, and we're now looking at doing that in, some other aspects in our different lines of business as well. So I think we're always searching for opportunities where we can add value to customers. We've recently launched our Santan restaurants, for example. We had one this time last year. We've got 9 open in the Klang Valley today. Obviously, Malaysia's all about food, right? We know it's a good pastime in Malaysia. We've introduced delivery through AirAsia Food and AirAsia Fresh recently to, deliver food to people again. That side of our business is going really, really strongly. And again, that's a value-driven side in relation to making sure we minimise fees into restaurants, etc. as well. So I think we're always looking at those value opportunities, but again, to do it well and again, to make sure it's the high quality that people expect out of the AirAsia brand. So low cost never means low service. We always want to ensure that our guests get the service they expect from us. That's why we've been the world's best low-cost airline for 11 years running. So we need to make sure we maintain those high degrees of quality in all of the products and services that we're offering, not just the core airline brand. So that's a key focus of what we're doing. And the expansions you're seeing into other businesses at the moment, such as AirAsia Food, for example, is driven from that value quality as well.
All right, great. Thanks, Adam. Okay, there's a question from the floor. Yeah. Okay, this one is to do with live chat. Lin Zeng, I think you brought up that point. Is increasing usage of live chat agents sustainable in the long run? Lin Zeng, any views on that? I think you did mention about using live chat. Maybe you can expand on that discussion, and maybe the question is whether it's sustainable in the long run on that.
Actually, for me, I think for live chat actually is more sustainable because for live chat agent, actually they can do multiple customer contact at a certain point. Whereas if you're a call agent, if you're on a call with one person, it's one-to-one. Whereas for chat, sometimes when you reply the customers, they take time to reply to you, so they can handle maybe 3 up to 5, depending on the type of inquiries. That you can actually manage the load better. And then
All right.
Alvin, can I jump in on that one just quickly as well?
Sure.
I just said something because obviously we fully digitized our contact centers, but what I would say is it's also the technology you pair with the people. So our AI chatbot, Ava, for example, she's able to handle over 85% of the queries that come to her. So it's not a sustainable solution. I agree if you're recruiting lots and lots of people to answer questions, although, to the previous speaker's point, that's also driven by the fact you can do more live chats than phone calls at once. But I think using technology like chatbots, for example, is really critical, both on a self-service and automation aspect, but also on, minimizing the headcount that you need to scale in future as you digitize your contact centers.
Exactly. I think we are seeing a pickup in using chatbots today, right? I think the technology has played a big role, like what Joan mentioned as well in AI and AR as well in that sense. Coming back to the point on, because we are using a lot of technology in that sense, obviously you guys at the forefront of getting a lot of data in place. Yeah. So maybe Joan, from your perspective, has data played a big role in sort of helping you plan in terms of understanding the customer requirements, customer experience, and also how do you plan around what is good for a customer using the data that you guys harness? Joan?
Honestly, I think we obsess over data.
Exactly.
I wake up at 5 a.m. right every morning, and after doing what I need to do to get ready to wake myself up and have my coffee, I think the first thing I do is really look at conversion rates, right, transaction, what's our traffic going into our e-commerce sites and all that. But I think what is the most important thing is how we humanize the data.
Exactly.
So, right now, I mean, obviously every single company is really using all sorts of tools, right? Like we are using our ERP systems. We're on SAP right now. So obviously, everything from inventory to offline and online, tracking, right, is managed through our data warehouse. And we really look at data on an hourly, daily basis. And the one thing to note is that, really for, all businesses, small, medium, and large enterprises, right, is to really ask the who, what, where, why, what, and how, right? So the 5, 6 WHs, right? I think, for us, we look at conversion rates, and sometimes, in the past, I think, conversion rates for retail are fairly low, right? Now they're double, sometimes, right? High double-digit conversion rates. But then, taking into the factors of the limitations of how many people can walk into a store. We, for instance, in smaller format retail stores, right, we only allow 6 to 10 people at any one time to enter into, any of our stores. And that then obviously, is a change in consumer behavior. I think overall, in the past, you would see a lot more browsing in store. Now you would see a lot more window shopping, right? So, you know, when you go to a mall, right, if the person doesn't have an intention to buy, they would probably stay outside your facade, right? And check out from the facade of your of your entrance to see what is worth it to go in there to check out. And if it's not, then, you know, they won't. So to a certain extent, I think being able to understand that, right, then, you know, even if you have a high double digit in terms of conversion rate, that really doesn't make much of a difference. But I think more of if you could really tell, right, the customer flow of, you know, each of the stores, right, what they pick up and what they try, right, try rates versus, you know, like the placements of all the products, right, what you put into your window displays versus what you put in at the back of the store. So those things are really important for us to understand and humanize so that we can better serve, you know, at a retail space, right? And of course, you know, when you look at online, for instance, previously, obviously UI UX is something really important, right? Load time, ease of checkout processes, you know, SLAs in terms of delivery. But now we're having to really, you know, look at, you know, every single click, right? And see, you know, the customer flow, the customer funnels, the customer journey, see why, you know, they are having trouble, you know, like high browser rate on some product pages, but they're not checking out, right? So what, you know, what does that mean to us? And I think, you know, really it's something that we obsess about and something that's really important for every company to obsess about, to ask the why, the hows.
Okay, yeah, I think you brought up a good point. We're also hearing, you know, especially in the retail fashion business, people are sort of putting sensors on clothes, right? Here again, sort of see how many people actually try those clothes, and they sort of give you an idea, you know, in terms of the demand for that particular. What were your thoughts around that? That, you know, you put sensors on clothes so that you sort of understand which are the items that probably has a bigger take up in terms of people trying it and so forth.
Yeah, no, that's really something that's very useful for us. I think, you know, Sephora does that with beauty as well. So, you know, in terms of like placement of, you know, products at eye level versus a non-eye level, right? And, you know, also maintaining the brands that are in the frontal area of the store versus the middle area of the store versus the back area of the store. Those things are really very important. And now, you know, I think even more so because of the fact that, you know, the customers are very much more conscientious and careful about where they walk to, right? And of course, you know, like what they decide to try in that sense. Because, you know, for us, I think with apparel, we make sure the apparel are disinfected. You know, every couple of hours we disinfect our clothes, right? And to a certain extent, we swap out, you know, the clothes that needs to be tried as well. So to a certain extent, you know, for us, we don't want to, especially with a format like with a small retail format, we don't really want to be crowding the space with too much inventory that doesn't really work. So we really have to know what's our try rate, right? So high try rates, you know, high ROS or high sell-throughs, right? To be able to maintain that kind of turn and turnover.
Okay, thanks, Joan. On the topic of data, I mean, from an AirAsia perspective, you know, maybe Adam, could you chime in here to sort of see, you know, how data has sort of helped you sort of understand the customer a little bit better, you know, in your dynamics of things?
Sure. So first, I agree with Joan. We're absolutely obsessed about data these days. There's not a minute of my day that I'm not looking at a dashboard for something. But I think, you know, data is really critical from a couple of areas. One is to be able to understand, you know, what our customers are telling us, for example. So we use an enormous amount of data, you know, from NPS to customer satisfaction data to data through our CRM tools, etc., to understand where we're going right, where we're going wrong, where we need to focus areas to improve, but also where we can add more value, back to your previous question, to our customers as well. But, you know, data is also really useful from a personalization aspect. I think as, you know, we're moving more into an e-commerce space, obviously in our business as well, data allows you to personalize what you're upselling and cross-selling across an ecosystem and not being the old, you know, would you like fries with that from the old McDonald's days. So I think it's really critical to use data in the right way. It's really critical to capture it in the right way. It's really critical to make sure you use it to personalize and to benefit your customers and and that's certainly what we're seeing is we're introducing, the AirAsia Super app, etc., and looking more broadly, not just at the airline business, but across the broader ecosystem. Obviously, the data that we have from the airline business is obviously useful to those other businesses as well, and we have, very large and very strong data expertise or teams and expertise in-house to be able to, support that transition as well.
Yeah, great. I think you and Joan brought up a very good point. I think everybody is sort of looking at data today, right? From our perspective, ensuring data governance is in place. Yeah, ensuring that your definition of revenue and my definition of revenue is exactly the same as well. So the quality of data is definitely key to ensuring that we also get the right data in place. Okay, we have a question from the floor to Joan and Lynn. With the continual growth and expansion of your respective business, what actions are you adopting or investing in to improve control and governance of your process? Are you using digital tools to manage and monitor your service delivery to ensure consistency? Lindsay, maybe you want to try to answer that question if possible.
Okay, I think for us on the control and governance side, we do have our internal quality assurance team. We do regular audits, on ISO standards, so to ensure that all our stations and our drivers all adhere to certain standards. So we do use digital tools. We are able to track all our drivers. What's their success rate, their delivery rates, how many parcels they take on the route, and even on the shipper level, which are the customers that have higher failure rate, low failure rate. So those are actually signs that maybe for certain shippers, there might be the product quality might not be so good. We can feedback to them and so on. So we do use a fair bit of system. So we do a lot checks using data to check on everything from our pickup drivers all the way to our sort centers to the delivery to ensure that we follow process throughout the way and to ensure quality of service.
Okay. Any views on Joan on this part?
I think for us, we definitely have systems in place for our customer care team. I think customer care teams, obviously, I think for us, SLAs are in place, right? And we monitor that on a daily basis. So if there are any red flags from our customer care teams, we're able to sort of mitigate that on a very instantaneous basis. And of course, service recovery, I think Adam would know, it's quite paramount to us, in all our businesses. And, that's something that we take very seriously. So, service recovery is also something that, actively is, very, very much of our priority, right? Then, of course, in terms of internal tools to audit, I think our performance from warehousing, fulfillment, even manufacturing, we have audits as well, right? So for us, I think to a certain extent, that has been in place even prior to COVID and hasn't really changed much. But what happens now is, of course, loading in the new SOPs that we've really developed, right? Then, the sort of the guidelines have evolved, and then obviously how we evaluate the efficiency in the SLAs have also slightly evolved to very much more obsessively detailed.
Yeah. All right. Great. Thanks. Touching on technology, maybe Lindsay, from your perspective, how do your organization sort of start to adopt technology and sort of drive that technology conversation across the organization? Yeah, maybe I'm just looking at some of the audience here. Maybe they have yet to sort of look into technology, into their business. Maybe you can share from your experience how the Ninja Van sort of start adopting technology in driving your business in that sense.
Okay. So for us, actually, we are considered more of like one of the technology startup in the logistics space. So in the sense, we are a little bit more tech first. So we started in Singapore. Then I think was one of our first clients in Singapore. So from there we grew out from a technology base, meaning we have a central system working on the application development of operating system. So those are scalable in the cloud. So from there we quickly could deploy when we expand to countries like Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, Philippines, and so on. So this architecture is quite is in the cloud, so it's very scalable. So every time demand spike, we can scale up on the fly. Then from there on, we do have our own in-house product team. who we engage with customers where they have new requirements. We work with our product team, then they constantly innovate on okay, maybe we add these new features for our customers. Then and then on the same time on the operation basis, let's say we needed a way to, let's say, verify the addresses at scale, so we know how do we deliver to customers, because sometimes the quality of the address is quite bad, that when you look at it you don't know where to go. But there are some ways you can predict and so on, that we can reduce the contact to customers and so on. So there's a lot of feedback loops we have from operational side and from commercial side. We prioritize what are the key requirements from to improve efficiency, key requirements for us to increase service offering to our customers. From there on, we feedback to our team, and then this is an ongoing cycle we have.
I see. I think that's very good.
Must add on that, it's a testament, right? So, we've been working with Ninja Van, obviously, and I think one of the first few things that happened with the customer orders online were that they all had to divert all their addresses, and it was painless with the Ninja Van partner, because I think all our customers were able to, majority of it had to divert delivery addresses from offices to their homes, right? Because they're working from home.
Exactly.
And that was really, really great. I think customer service, and also like the partnership between us, they have managed to really salvage everything during the first time when we hit MCO.
Yeah, great. So I think, again here, I think technology sort of plays a big role. Again here, I think how fast organizations react is really what systems are in place really to sort of adapt in that sense. Maybe I can sort of touch on now on the workforce perspective, right? So because customer experience, is a key focus, right? So how do you guys sort of drive that conversation down to your workforce to ensure customer centricity, customer focus is the main agenda for the organization? Maybe if I could turn to Adam on that question.
Yeah, sure. So look, I think, first of all, AirAsia has always been a people-first business. So, people have always been, our one of our primary focuses. So, through this transition, we've had to transition to be a work from home business, obviously. In a contact center world, that's very different to having hundreds of people sitting there in an office with you. So, if I look at what we've done in my core team, for example, we have daily team huddles where we get our team in together every day. We give them business updates. We might have a few hundred people on a Zoom call, but we'll still play games with them, for example. So instead of just giving them, business information where, it's fun, they get to come in every day and interact with coworkers and have a bit of fun. And by doing that, it drives engagement. And when you're driving the engagement, that drives the outcome that Staffing is going to deliver for you. So if someone comes to work every day and they're bored or disengaged, then that's going to come across to your customers. So we've been really heavily focused on making sure our staff are just as engaged working from home as they would be if they were working in, Red Q or any of our other offices there as well. But we've also had to look at that reskilling side, Alvin. I mentioned earlier on, obviously we've had pilots and cabin crew and ground staff and engineers, etc., who, we don't currently need flying or looking after aircraft because we've significantly reduced our operating at the moment. So, we've reskilled those. We've started our Redbeard Academy, for example, which is an academy we started in collaboration with Google to look at reskilling our staff into the digital side of our business, which is obviously a significant growth phase for us with the AirAsia Super app starting as well. So by doing that, it's given staff the ability to maybe go from being a pilot to being a software engineer, for example. So that reskilling and that reinvestment into our staff has been a really critical part of maintaining that engagement and also being able to improve the outcome we can deliver for our customers as well.
Exactly. I think you brought up a really good point, right? I think reskilling, because of the changes that we see, I think, it's really about how open our people are, right, in learning new skills and adapting really quickly. Yeah. Maybe from Joan as well, how you guys sort of drive that message across the organization in terms of, again, focusing on customer experience and customer centricity.
I think similar to AirAsia, Adam, one of our key first brand principle, right, is really people matter. So I think whether pre-COVID or not, right, we've always been experience first, customer first, and we've always been a business that really enables women to become the best versions of themselves. So I think intrinsically our brand values have been really focused on really obsessing over the customer, right, and delivering the customer's need and want, anticipating her needs as well, right, through different phases of a woman's journey, right? From her first job to, her first child, right? To her marriage, her wedding day, right? So to a certain extent, I think, we've always been, I guess, trained, and our people have always been trained. So I think the good thing about it is that, before COVID, teamwork was really something that was, really great within the teams, right? And whether it's cross-functional, cross-border, right? And when it hit, I think, for us, the systems that we implemented, right, through Zoom, through Google Meet, all the tools that enable us to engage with each other, really just helped, magnify, I guess, the teamwork that we really needed to have during this period. So of course, engagement activities, right? Having sessions that we play games, or really just hang out and chill out together on a Friday, having a glass of wine, for instance, right? That's something that I think the teams do very well. And of course, like food brings everyone together. So we have food sessions together, even virtually. But of course, I think that still never ever takes away that human interaction touch. So I'm sure the team is still looking forward to a day where all of us are able to go back to the offices again on a more regular basis. Yeah.
Exactly. I think one of the key challenges that everybody was sort of facing over the last year is the mental stress, right? I think because I think the first time that we had MCO, all of us were boxed up, in our own place, right? I think all of us were going through that mental stress. I think you guys brought up a really good point in terms of, maybe having certain games and, how do we sort of bring the moral and the enthusiasm in terms of how our people sort of work together. Yeah. There's a question on the floor. What would you recommend for the B2B business model as a response to the pandemic to maintain or gain new retailers? Joan, if you want to pick up that question. You want me to repeat that question?
Yeah, so I think for B2B business models, right, in response to maintain or gain new retailers.
Would you have any recommendation that you can or any of the other two panelists can answer that question from the floor? What would you recommend for? Yeah.
I would say from a retail fashion perspective, I think for us, we've been quite fortunate, I guess, like we have our own channels, right? But the other part of really the team that's really looking into business expansion is that to develop, market expansion opportunities with partners that we can't really directly serve the customer. So I think in Malaysia, we have a very high marketplace industry, right? With likes of Lazada, Shopee, Zalora, right? And of course, like serving the marketplace needs and serving the customers there, right, is something that, is a big opportunity for most businesses in any kind of field, right? Whether it's FMCG, F&B, or, retail. So to a certain extent, I think definitely, leverage as a small business, maybe leverage the marketplaces, right? And then, of course, social media or social selling is something that, is really trending right now, right? I think Shopee Live, Facebook Live, is something that really has been trending very much on the up trend, and something to look into as you from a small seller become somewhat SME. And of course, there's a lot of support coming from the government as well, right? In terms of grants and funding, right? That really can be applied to starting up that way.
I see. Great. Thanks. Yeah. I guess from another perspective, there's a question from the floor as well. What are the immediate technology skills that graduates or potential workers should learn, regardless of their field of expertise? Adam, you want to have a crack at this question here? I think it's really what sort of skill sets that maybe AirAsia is sort of looking at to bring on board to sort of drive again the balance between what the business needs and what technology requires as well in that sense. So from your perspective, from a customer experience perspective, what are you looking at to sort of bring on board, to sort of support your agenda as well?
So look, I think these days, skills in technology are really important. I literally have heads of department in my team who work in the back ends of chatbots every day, and they've had to learn how to do that. They've had to learn, elements of coding, etc., to be able to be successful at. So I think those technology skills are really, really important now. Obviously, there's lots and lots of companies, not just AirAsia, but I think all of us here today have gone through digital transformations or come as digital startups, right? And I think as part of that, that's a really important skill to have, because it's not just a skill now that you need in your software engineering team or, your IT team. That's a broader skill that you need from a technology perspective across the business. And that's why, we really focused on that Red Bead Academy I mentioned to you earlier about how we can reskill lots of people in our business on those tech sides as well. And look, I think the other thing is that there's always the element of, cultural intelligence, etc. When I'm looking for people I recruit into our team, it's about culture fit into our business. It's about being able to work across different cultures throughout ASEAN and beyond. It's about the people skills they've got and the overall skill set they bring our business from, not just what they studied, for example,
Exactly.
but, their attitude and culture fit and languages they can bring and all of that sort of stuff as well. So I think it's about what you might formally learn in relation to digital skills, etc. But it's also about continuing to build, your cultural intelligence, etc. as well, as you get up into that sort of work world out of the university side.
So I think you brought up a good point there in terms of cultural, perspective, and also maybe the softer skills as well. I presume this is something that the academy will probably enhance on or really touch upon in terms of reskilling the people in Asia.
Yeah, definitely. Look, it's not just about technical skills. The soft skills are just as important. Business is all about relationships, right? The question you asked before about B2B and how to improve that, that's also just as much about the relationships you're developing with your B2B partners as it is anything else, right? So those soft skills are just as important as the actual hard skills or the technical skills that we're training people.
All right, thanks Adam. Lindsay, would you want to have a go at that question in terms of what sort of technology or skill sets that Ninja Van is sort of looking at in terms of bringing on board?
I think for us, I think one of the key skills to learn is really on the data analytics part. So I think the key part is on knowing what to look for, where to look for, what do you regard and what do you not regard. I think the key part is now data is so ubiquitous. You get data from everything, right? So it's what do you drill down, what's important and what's not important. I think those things takes time. And also, how do you relate the data to what's, I think Joe mentioned, what's happening on the ground? Meaning like this data, how does it relate to the ground? So if they can understand this better, they can really understand regardless of what industry they are in or which specialization they're at, even HR, finance. If they can find trends, they can find all this, you really help them go a long way to improve processes, to look at how to look general improvements. I think that is really a good skill to have in general.
Yeah, I think you brought up a very good point. Yeah, from a KPMG survey that we did last year, the top two sort of jobs or skills that people want the most is two. One is cybersecurity, and the other one is something called the data scientist. So if anybody has asked you, in terms of what they want to study in university, these are probably the two key things that the industry is sought after at the moment. Yeah. I think we've got about 8 minutes left on the call. Yeah, maybe if I could go to each one of y'all, maybe on the point of what you see customer experience is sort of evolving from, again, where we are, where we are now, right? From where we were last year and where you see the customer experience sort of moving towards the future. Maybe I'll start with Adam, how you see you sort of planning out the customer experience journey now, what you have learned, again, from what you saw last year, to what you are today, and where do you think, the bar will be moving forward in that sense. Adam, maybe I can start with you first.
Sure. Look, I think the bar's always going to go higher and higher. I think customers are becoming more and more educated, and so they should be. And I think customers' expectations are increasing more and more. We live in a world which is driven by social media, where people want instant responses, where people can get answers to things by typing a few words into Google, right? And with that world, the sort of demands of customers have really significantly changed. So I think, from my point of view, things like single entry points into how customers speak to you in your business. You can't have 6 different phone numbers to different call centers and all these different ways and channels, you've got to find a way to bring them all together into one, and that's what we've done really well with Ava. You know, it's like a triage nurse. It's our single entry for customers across our ecosystem to talk to us, for example. But you know, I think the increase in automation and self-service is really important as well. The question we got asked right at the beginning about, you know, is it sustainable to recruit lots and lots of people? Well, the answer to that is no, particularly as businesses come out of COVID and, you know, costs are critical to businesses as they do so. So there's a real importance to increase automation and self-service. And what we're seeing in the very, you know, technical driven market that we're in now is customers are more and more comfortable to be able to, you know, speak to bots or to self-service through, you know, different platforms, etc. too. But I really think the way that customers talk to business will be, you know, really driven on those messaging platforms, etc. moving forward. And I also think we'll see an increased use of AI voice. So the Siris and Alexias of the world, I think we'll certainly see that go into sort of the chatbot worlds, etc. too. And you know, in 5 or 10 years' time, instead of having a conversation maybe with a call center agent, it'll be with, you know, those sort of AI voices to get that instant sort of response we need to.
Exactly. Lindsay, maybe from your perspective as well, before we sort of close off, again, you know, where you see the customer experience going from your perspective from Ninja Van?
Okay, so for Ninja Van, I think our perspective, okay, so for us, we are actually not the retailer itself. We are support for the e-commerce and also retailers that are going to sell online. So for us, we actually have 2 sets of customers if you look at it. So first is the end customers. So the expectation for them really is about not just about speed. I think speed is one thing that is becoming like a hygiene. Next one is optionality. It's like whether they want to collect it at their house, their office, or there's like we have like a Ninja box in the LRT station where maybe on the way back they can collect on the way. So in terms of optionality, this is what we need to offer our customers, different ways of collecting their parcels. Then on the other end, on the shipper perspective, where our true customers are people who pay us money. So in the sense, we see the trend going to the more long tail merchants. So traditionally, we work more with the B2C, the merchants, right? We work directly. We have less contact with the end consumer. But we see with the increase in the trend of the marketplace, there are a lot more people selling online. People maybe buy a few items, they put on the Shopee or Lazada or even on Facebook, so on. So there's a need more for like a retail footprint. Like for us, we have this Ninja Point footprint of about 4,000 outlets over Malaysia where people can drop off parcels that they sell, they can also collect. So in that sense, we see there's also more trend serving this type of customers, the long tail merchants as well as customer on the optionality part.
All right, thanks. Joan, any points from you before we sort of
Yeah, I
close
think
it?
for us, you know, we're serving the end customer, right? Mainly, and you know, to us, yeah, speed, you know, in terms of SLA is a very important sort of like, you know, priorities to us, you know, in terms of delivering customer satisfaction. So when it comes to like e-commerce, especially, I think, you know, that's something that will continue on and I think be even more demanding. Of course, you know, for me, I believe that, you know, omni-channel sort of shopping behaviors would be a lot more apparent in the next coming months and, you know, coming future, right? So I think, you know, we'll have more omni-channel customers and therefore, you know, like we'll need more tools that obviously, you know, look into trend watching style machines, right, that can predict, you know, new upcoming trends, right? And of course, you know, look at how we can also maximize inventory. Right now, you know, obviously, you know, with an inventory, I think a lot of brands, a lot of companies, especially retail fashion, would have inventory problems, right? The only saving grace for us is we're non-consumables. So to a certain extent, you know, we have a longer shelf life compared to others. But really, I think to maximize inventory, that's something that, you know, we need to look at as well from an internal process. And of course, you know, like for us, you know, automation, you know, in terms of, you know, chatbots, right? Those really would be paramount to us to deliver the sort of customer service that we need with the sort of speed that we need to be at.
Great, thanks. I think, yeah, so I think once again, a big thank you to Adam, Joan, and Lindsay as well for having this session with us. Yeah, I think we started off with sort of understanding from an industry perspective. It's good to see that, you know, your organizations reacted well in terms of adapting, you know, how you guys also use technology. I think we had a good conversation around how you guys use data as well. And really, it's good to hear as well, the different ways you guys are sort of looking and even motivating your people, right? Even through this mental stress that all of us are going through, right? Ensuring that the customer is still the focus, and ensuring that we deliver and we make sure that we understand the customers really well. Yeah, I think with that I will end the session with the star. Again, a big thank you to our panelists, Adam, Joan, and Linzing. I'd like to say a big thank you to Star as well for having us on board for this session. Once again, I will close off, and I wish everyone a safe and happy day. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Hi everyone, we hope you've enjoyed the industry panel as much as we did. I would like to say thank you to Adam, Joan, Lin Zeng, and Alvin for such a great discussion. It is most definitely a great honor for us to have you at our event. And everyone who has watched so far, thank you so much for staying with us till the end of the customer experience session of the Smart Retail Live virtual conference. As I've mentioned earlier, we are giving away 3 cool gadgets at each of the 4 sessions of this event. And all you need to do is complete a short survey by scanning the QR code that is shown on your screen, or go to bit.ly/stars, bit.ly/star smart retail survey 2. And you can also stand a chance to win any of these prizes. Guys, day 1 of the Smart Retail Conference is a wrap, but we do have 2 more awesome sessions tomorrow. In the morning, we will be covering online fraud and cybercrime and digital operations. Our Terabyte partner Forte will kick off the session by addressing how the e-commerce business is suffering from new user missed opportunity. Then, our knowledge partner KPMG will be presenting the rise of tech and innovation in a new digital retail area. And the icing on the cake is the session will be closed with our industry panel discussion that will be moderated by our knowledge partner, Nielsen IQ. And the panel will be joined by a lineup of senior technology and business leaders from Aeon Retail, Heineken Malaysia, and QSR brands. I hope you're as excited for tomorrow morning's program as I am. And to learn more about the event agenda and the speaker profiles, you may scan the QR code that is located on the top right of your screen, or go to bit.ly/smartretailagenda. Please also share the Smart Retail event program with your colleagues and friends. Due to popular demand, we have increased the amount of time for you to be able to register. So come over and join us and see me tomorrow. If you need any assistance from us, please email us at events@thestar.com.my. I'm signing out, but the page will remain live live in the next 10 to 15 minutes. So remember to complete the short survey and stand a chance to win one of those 3 prizes. Thank you, and I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Bye.
Always have a support structure that you can rely on, having people that can always deliver, and at the very least, those that can show progress on a daily basis.
Kita adalah brand holder. Kita kena yakin dengan brand kita. So sebelum kita nak meyakinkan orang dengan brand kita kena yakinkan diri kita dahulu. So macam mana? Ilmu, knowledge. Pergi belajar. Tak belajar, tak tahu. Saya buka syarikat saya sendiri sebab masa itu saya yakin masyarakat tak boleh bergerak tanpa motivasi.
புதுசா வித்தியாசமா நீங்க யோசிச்சு ஒரு மார்க்கெட்ல டிமாண்டா இருக்கிற ப்ராடக்ட்டை நீங்க கொண்டு வந்தீங்கன்னா பயனியராகவும் ஆகலாம். அதே சமயத்துல மக்கள் திருப்பி வந்து உங்கள்கிட்ட வாங்கிட்டு இருப்பாங்க.
把你的生意放上网络平台，我朋友是做网络卖衣服的生意，他的生意是不断的在增长。我起步的时候是跟去银行贷款，所以他说我的规模也是太小，所以他是不接受我的贷款的。有一天我上网寻找贷款，然后过后就找到 IMSME， 过后我去 click 进去申请表格。第二天 CGC 的有一个顾问打来跟我说，你可以尝试用 P2P 的平台，过后就成功了。
The great thing about this whole CGC ISME program is that it's no collateral and you can go for as little as 1,000 ringgit to as much as 5 million. I went online and went to the page, registered, logged in, and just keyed in my details. And from there, within a matter of days, things were already set in motion. So it's really that straightforward and that simple. I was able to get it within a matter of weeks. I think everyone can too.
IMSME ஃபண்ட் வந்து நாங்கள் வந்து அப்ளை பண்ணியிருந்தோம், எங்களுக்கு கிடச்சிச்சு. அது மூலிமா எங்கள் பிஸ்னஸையும் வந்து எக்ஸ்பெண்ட் பண்ணோம். 10% வந்து இன்க்ரீஸ் பண்ணோம் எங்கள் சேல்ஸை. இது மூலிமா IMSME ஃபண்ட் வந்து ரொம்ப உதவியாக இருந்துச்சு எங்களுக்கு.
Sebenarnya dalam business, fun is everything. You have fun, you can go bigger. You don't have fun, you cannot go anywhere. CGC banyak membantu saya untuk saya go and move further sebenarnya. Dan at the end, saya dah ada branch baru dekat Alustah selepas saya dapat dana daripada CGC. I have no fun problem at all after that. Jadi dengan IMSME memang banyak sangat ubah hidup saya dan banyak membantu mengembangkan bisnes saya.
感谢 IMSME 帮我的生意更上一层楼。